Enjoyed the film? Woo! Yes? Again, my name is Keith Wolfer, Director of Education from SFFILM, and I am proud to bring our special guest to the stage, Ugo Bienvenu. So your credits, I didn't say in there, director, producer, writer, and I think we see your name about 20 more times in the credits, right?
Small budget.
Small budget, yeah.
That's fair.
So that's sort of that helped me get started with this. You know, this is indie animated feature for those of you who know all the other films in the animated category. We have big studios and things like that. This is your directorial debut, but it's not the first time you've done anything. You've done short films, novelist, graphic novels, music videos. When do you decide you're ready to make your first feature? And how is that different in France when you're doing an indie film if you were to decide you wanted to do your first feature here in the States?
I don't know in the States how it works. I have a glimpse of what it is, but not in details, you know. It's just that I done a comic book that was a bestseller in France, and I had a lot of studios, even American studios, that called me to adapt the book. And I already worked on that comic book for 2 years, and I wasn't keen on, you know, working 5 more years on this. But it gave me the idea that it was possible for me to do a feature film at that time. And also this was being too much confident, but I thought, okay, they want me to do something, so I'm going to propose something else and they will be okay, but it's never like this in life. Like when I proposed ARCO, everybody was like, no, we want this book, you know, we don't want, because also they could rely on numbers, they could rely on things that already exist. And it took us a long time to convince people that this movie should be on screen. You know?
So once you did convince, what is the process? You have your own studio, correct?
I got my second studio. The first one I did when I was 23. It became a huge studio in France, but my partner was a shitty guy, so I left and sold my shares of the company. And built this one, Remembers, with a friend of mine, and I think we're more aligned on our social, you know, way of thinking life, and yeah, so we built that studio in 2018, and mainly we produce other people that need, you know, we produce like 15 or 20 people work, and so yeah, it's always about me having a studio is a tool for me to be able to be free as free as I want, and also to protect the ideas that I have, because often when I worked also in other studios. I worked for Marvel Disney a little bit, and I saw that often people want to put money where it's not useful and not where I need it, you know. So having my studios is always about like putting the money where I need it, and not where people that don't know the craft think it should be, you know.
So was everything completed at your studio? I know a lot of times in European independent animated, there's other studios that maybe do certain aspects of it, or was it all?
No, we did everything in my own studio, and also it's easier in Europe because we can finance easily going to Belgium to do something, going to Luxembourg, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do everything in my studio in Paris, in just one neighborhood. So it's because also making movies is about living things with people you like, and also doing things with people you like, and I wanted to. I knew everybody I worked with because I was a teacher at Gobelin, another school in France, animation schools, and I hired for this movie. I hired all my students, so they got out of school, you know, and yeah, the chief of animation, I met him when he was 17, and then yeah, he went in my studio to do you know, the trainship. I don't know. During the summer, you know, and then I was paying him as a professional during his tuition so he could pay the school. And then when he got out of school, I made him work for Chanel or brands like this. and he was 22 when he began working on ARCO, now 23, and now he's 26. So also it's about what I like is not using people's value, but producing people's value also, and trusting in someone, sometimes people that nobody trusted, you know. And Arnaud Toulon, for example, who made the music on the score of the movie, he had done nothing really, but I knew he would be the one, you know. And I had a lot of when the movie got financed, a lot of people wanted to work on that, big names, and I was like, no, I want this unknown guy because I'm sure he's gonna do what I want, you know. And now everybody wants to work with him. So
Is that desire to be a mentor? I mean, you taught at Gobelin, but did you have that same experience when you were younger? Did people take you under your wing and give you that opportunity?
No, never. That's why.
That's why you're changing things.
And opening doors is so hard. Like, and doors are heavy in my craft, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's so easy to leave it open just behind you, so other people can. And that's why also I always did studios, is because to me it was so hard that, and I love younger people or people that, you know, even we produced a short from Stephen Villman, who's to me one of the best of our generation. He's older than me, but I had the door open, so I called him and I knew he was doing the project, and I told him come and I produce your movie, and he came and we finished the movie, and he got like hundreds of prizes all around the world. And it's also when you open the doors, like it's so easy to leave them open and to help other people that I don't know, I feel like it's also our role not to just work for ourselves but also for other people. And me, like the thing I think the most noble task as human beings is transmission. And that's why I'm a teacher, that's why it's because if I can make things faster and easier for people, like why not? You know, it doesn't cost me anything. So yeah.
And with the success of the film, are a lot of those students still at the studio? Are you able to keep them on the studio?
Most of them is just that we have to, you know, to pay them on, you know, we have to have projects. So yeah, and now I'm doing this tour since 8 months. So I have to, now
Get back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have tons of questions, but I want to give the opportunity to the audience to ask questions. This is a special opportunity when you come to a theater like this. I'm going to hop down to the floor so I can bring the microphone around. Why don't we start right here in front?
Thank you. I was just wondering, was there any like other studios or other like animation that helped like bring this vision to you? Like I noticed like there's a lot of similarities to like Studio Ghibli films that I've seen.
Yeah, people tell me that a lot. But if you put the visuals, you know, on the side, the character design doesn't look the same, and the backgrounds, like Ghibli ones, are painted, you know, and me it's drawing. So they don't look the same. But I think it's because I don't like violence, and 99% of animation is violent. So I think this is the first thing that connects us with Ghibli. The second thing is elements. I love what I love in cinema is and also being a human is being confronted to elements, wind, fire, water, and in fact Miyazaki is too fascinated by this. And also I think truth. I'm doing what I do. For me, is just to reveal some hidden truth in the world. And you know, for example, me, Miyazaki, when he draws water and animates water, like this is actually exactly what could be water if you give a super small definition of what could be water. To me, Ghibli is he defines things in a way that it reveals things to me, and that's what I love in my craft, and that's what I try to do. And also, I think not trying to say to tell stories like black and white or good and bad, you know, but just going in gray zones. This is really hard. Not hard, but there's not a lot of, you know, most of the time in animation movies there is the evil guy and the good one, and me, I'm not into that much, you know. So I think there's a lot of links between our works, and also to me it's the best artist ever. So I think in a way like influenced me. But also in France, nobody, I work since 15, 20 years now, and nobody talked to me about Miyazaki ever, but people were telling me that my work was looking like Moebius, which is another drawer, and Moebius is the one that influenced Miyazaki, so in a way, the wheels are...
Sometimes it's unintentional, right? It's in your brain, you've seen things, you're not copying something, but when you're immersed and a lover of animation, there's things that are gonna probably pop into your mind. I notice you have your Peter Pan. The fire scene with the deer in the forest, Bambi. Yeah.
And when you write, it doesn't pop in your mind. And also when I work, when I do movies, I don't watch movies. When I read books, when I do books, I watch movies because I need my system to be. Because if I would watch a movie while I'm doing a movie, I could say like, oh, this is great, I could use it and not digest it. And I work on souvenirs of things, of rememberings of things I saw maybe a long time ago, but it's not a clear image, so I had to invent it again, in a way. So it has to go deeply through my system, and not just like. And also, making movies is not about making cocktails. It's not about putting everything you like somewhere and shaking it. And usually, when you do that, it gives you an advertising for the best. But it's like, yeah.
All right, who's next? I'm gonna go right here.
Hi, I wanted to ask you about the character of Mickey. I really love that character, and I think it's interesting how it's a little scary at first, but ends up being a very pure character. And I was curious about the process of designing Mickey and how you came about, and with what Mickey ended up being in the film.
Mickey arrived 10 years ago in my life, and in fact, when I was a student at Gobelin, I needed music on my movie, and I asked a friend of mine, and I told him, but I had no money to pay him, so I told him, when you make your album, your first album, you call me, and I'm gonna do a music video for you. And 6 years later, he called me and said, hey, my album is now, I'm gonna release my album, so can you make a music video? And he had no money, we had €0, and I had an idea for him, and it was I had this idea, what is the end of humanity, in fact, the real end of humanity? It's maybe when the kids of humanity will be dead too, and kids of humanity are robots, so I designed this robot, I don't know why, I don't know how, but it's my way of drawing, and so I did the death of that last robot. The music video is called Syracuse, Sphere of Existence, if you want to go and check. It's full CG. And but so that was the first time I drew him and animated him. And then it went, I put it in my books, and it's in all my comic books. And I don't know, I love this character because he's like, in The Mask, like it's kind of a mask I put myself, and to watch at me like honestly and not lying to me and asking me harsh questions, and it allows me also to ask the audience in my books and in the movie questions that are not easy to receive, And if a human being was asking these questions, it would be too uncomfortable, and when it's a robot, as it doesn't have any feelings, and he can, and he's objective, so he can tell you things that are not pleasant also. So, and to me, fiction is all about defining what makes us humans, and he's the best tool I have to help me define what. And honestly, I think in this movie I had, if we define with the most simple definition of what makes us human is that we are able to say this is important for me, and I think this is what actually makes us what we are.
Can you just talk a little bit more about Mickey, the voice work? So I don't know if everyone noticed in the audience, but it's a layering of the mother and father's voice. Can you talk about like how you came up with that idea, and then a little follow-up, knowing like is there any artists in the room, anyone who works on films or anything like that? Oftentimes you're away from your kids for years, right? And when you started making this film, you didn't have children, correct? But then you had two kids in the making of the film. So I was wondering if Mickey took on a different meaning for you, because he's sort of that surrogate parent, right? For those overworking parents. And you, working on a film like this, I imagine you were away from your kids for a very long time.
What I like in animation is that we have normal hours, you know. So yeah.
You're more sensible there?
No, I mean I could be, you know, at night with them, and then when they were in bed, I was working yet, but they didn't feel it, you know, and I was just tired, but they didn't get it. Now they know because I'm never home because of this trip, you know.
Yeah.
But what was the question?
The first part, you answered the second part, but the first part, like how did you come up with the idea of the layering of the voices?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty unique, I don't think I've
This
seen
was
that.
a really, to me, good theoretical idea, but never do that in your movies. In your movies, it's so painful doing this because, and at the beginning, I wanted to use, as we used, you know, real children voices, real birds, I wanted the voice of things. And so I decided to use AI because computers, to me, the voice of computers is AI, you know, so I said, maybe AI, but I did. So we trained the machine with the two main voices, the two parents' voices, and we had the result of the layering, you know, and it was perfect. But we had no fucking emotion. So we recorded again. So this AI department, it was that in the end we didn't use anything, but we had to put it in the rolling because we paid people. So we recorded again the voices of the actors, and they were never overlaying well. So we had to cut them by hand, stretch them so they could fit. You know, it took us hours and maybe months. But it wasn't exactly like it wasn't perfect, but there was imperfection. But we recognized it, and we had emotions. And this is what we do. Our job is about giving emotions. So it kind of reassured me about what we go through now with AI and things, that maybe we're not going to be replaced for emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there any AI workers in the audience?
No.
You are in the heart of AI.
Oh.
I see there's a couple kids in the audience.
Oh,
Any of the
yeah.
kids in the audience have any questions? Did you guys have a question? Yeah, you do? You want to ask it?
I'm not gonna put kids' faces on the thing.
So why do they call it a cave even though it does not look like a cave?
That's why we ask the kids for their questions.
Yeah.
Good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, how did
Because
what's the design of that?
there's not tons of words to define this thing. I don't know.
You stumped it.
But you're right. It's not a good question.
Respect.
All right. Anybody?
Yeah. I loved all the details in the movie. Do you have a favorite detail?
I don't know, but the flower pot that turns, you know, in the lobby, in the entry. Yeah, because the movie is also about what we're going through right now, and we're getting in a different era of, you know, between humans and reality. And to me, one of the biggest questions now is that actual presence of things is being replaced by their concepts or image, and I think this is really dangerous. I try to overlay under the really simple skeleton to underlay with what is in the background, with questions, so you could watch it again and again. Right? And also detail, I put it as much house as I could in the movie, and you can count them, and yeah.
Nice, thank you.
Hi, so my question was, I don't know if you're gonna bring up the voice layering thing, but I got beat to it. Is there a future in this franchise? Like, are there like more stories of Argo and Iris to tell?
Maybe you can do that. My job is also to leave some blanks and some space for the audience, and I don't like movies where I know everything and where you know everything is kind of you feel like you're on the road, you know, and you can't go on the left. And I think also it's important doing our job to yeah, because how can I say that? You know, this bottle contains like I don't know how many milliliters of water, but our job. This is the object that we are doing. Like the bottle is, but what we put in the bottle, I think making movies should be bigger than the bottle itself. You know? So, but we don't have enough room to do that because we have time. We have So in fact, putting sideways, little sideways in the story allows me to augment the movie with your own imagination. And what I like when I go to movies is when I'm active and when the movie leaves some things inside of me and I still think about it months after. So I wish the movie would do that on you. I'm not sure I did it well, but I tried.
Are you getting lots of different responses? You know, you said you've been out for 8 months, and I imagine when you started this film, there were plenty of fires and natural disasters, but it's even, in the last few years, there's been even more in the different places. Are you getting those different reactions where people are connecting it in a way that you've left it open for them, and they come at it from a different experience, or they give you something back from their experience?
Yeah, I think I received like 150 rainbows a day. So I'm super happy because my phone is full of rainbow pictures.
Nice.
And also like the kids, I received a lot of kids' drawings and it's really moving to me because the movie is also about drawing, it's also about imagination, the power of imagination. And if it gets people back to drawing, to even adults, just because imagination is just not just for people that tell stories or that imagination is in every corner of our lives. When you cook, you have imagination. When you pee, you imagine. When you take a shower, and imagination makes life way more beautiful than what it is actually. And if we stop using that muscle and training it, like if we just use our GPS to taking our, we have to still. To me, every time people ask me like, which superpower would you have to have? Would you like to have? I'm like, I already have it. I have imagination, and it's the best superpower ever, and everybody has it. So I think we should definitely use it more.
Absolutely. And you plant that little, what does ARCO say when she's drawing? He's telling Iris what the.
I wish I could draw.
I wish I could draw. Yeah. Did you put that sort of as a call out to the audience?
To me it's drawing, but it could be writing, just imagining, but honestly, like this is the only thing that makes our life since the very beginning of humanity livable, and that helps us in every moment of our life. And also, I say that often now, but fiction is really important. Fiction is really noble. It's the way human beings share experience through life and also prepare themselves to what they're going to go through in a safe space. So fiction to me is really, really important because if we don't train that muscle of emotions, of feelings, and also of imagination, when a hard situation comes to you in your life, if you're not muscled, you fall apart in front of the situation. But the more you read, the more you share the experience of other human beings that experience the world, the more you're armed
To take on the
to go through things.
So I don't know. Do you know how much time we have? I'm
There
gonna keep going until they
There is
say
one
we're out of
there.
time. Right in the
One
middle there?
In the middle there.
You want to shout it out?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you for making such a beautiful and human movie, and just narrative in general. I was really drawn to what you said before about how your work is similar to Ghibli's in that you don't show violence. I think like we do live in a very violent and turbulent world, and I guess sorry, I kind of blanked out for a second. But I guess my question is like, do you have any advice or just like more insight into what it means to be someone who does tell stories with a lot of horrors happening like in our world, I guess, and like despite the fact that you don't show direct violence, like these are worlds that where there are a lot of horrors happening, like yeah, I guess one
Human beings, we have a super bad tropism for drama, and also when you say you tell stories, you say I dramatize, which is weird. The vocabulary is consciously hard, you know, and so it's hard to tell stories without dramatizing, without putting bad things in it, you know, and that's why also. But me, when I began this movie, before my work was really for adults, was really cynical in a way, and I wanted to have kids, and I didn't want them to say, "Oh, Papa is so cynical," and everything else. So I tried to. Also, I think it's a posture. It's too easy to test the systems or to say this is bad, this is to criticize. It's too easy. But at that time, I wanted to. I said to myself, okay, now I want to be part of the kids that build sandcastles in the beach, you know, and not the ones that break them, you know, and also bringing light to the world is much more harder than bringing shadow. You just do that and you have a new shadow. You shut down the light is easier, but yeah, I think now that's what I want to be part of now. It's like building thing and bringing light, not putting more shadows and more violence in this world. It's too easy, and I don't want to promote that.
Let's take one or two more.
Hi, I thought the character of Iris was so beautiful, but also very tragic, because her independence is so, she can do anything, but it's sort of sad because she shouldn't have to. I was wondering if that came from personal experience or something you were thinking about the future, how things will turn out, something like that. It was a really beautiful character.
Thank you so much. When I was a kid, I felt like nobody respected the adult that was in me, and now that I'm an adult, I feel like nobody respects the child that is in me. So I try to do this movie for all of these persons, you know. That's a good question. When I was a kid, my parents were always saying, "Oh, stop telling stories," or because they thought I was inventing everything. But in fact, I wasn't inventing anything. I was just saying the way I felt things, and not the way that they were actually, but that's how I received them, you know. And I think that if we were talking more about the way we receive things, it would help everybody because we would understand this better. This is the first thing, and also it appeared to me recently, but how do you say? You know, kids. What we have to protect is kids. You know, ARCO is more able to do things because it doesn't have the pressure of you know life yet. But Iris is already a grown-up person, and she has to be. And I think this is what we have to protect the innocence. You know, and yeah, I think every kid has the right to stay innocent as much as they can, and us too, adults too.
This might be one of those questions where you'll say, oh, it's open for the interpretation and we're supposed to take with it. But speaking of Iris, you say like, ARCO says no one should see the future. And then we see all of Iris's drawings. Are we supposed to assume that it's maybe a little butterfly effect, that she's someone who you're putting faith in children and they're going to be the ones who save things, you know, in the future? Or is that something that we should just have for our own interpretation?
In fact, I think it's too easy to always say, it's the kid's job to change the world, you know, and making that movie was taking a part of it with my tools and with what I can do, you know, but not just telling them, okay, you're gonna do it, I give it to you, the hot potato. But also, yeah, it was about telling them like, climate change, if we see it as a bad thing, as a punishment, you know, it won't work ever. But if we see it as the first opportunity in human history to fight for something together and take it as a crazy adventure in which there will be love, there will be friendship, there will be, you know, and also economy, you know. But it's maybe the first time in human history that we can like be all together and we have to take this decisions. And also, I think the movie is about saying to the kids, like, let's rely on something else than numbers. We rely on numbers since mechanical age, you know, and obviously it doesn't bring us a better one. So let's try something else. And to me, like, we are not concepts. Numbers are good for concepts, but we are bodies, we are souls living in an actual physical world. And if we were hearing a little bit more our feelings, our emotions, and our bodies, I think we would build something better for ourselves. You know? So it's my way of saying, let's go back to imagination. And it's not because we are told to do that we have to really, and also, you know, science fiction is rough, what we live in right now, like, in a way. And that's what made me do that movie, that, okay, if we want the best to happen, we have to imagine the person. And Elon Musk does it really well because hundreds, thousands of people told stories, bad stories of science fiction, and influence our unconscious, you know, overall unconscious. And so it's super easy for him to say, oh, I'm going to do robots, you know, or, you know, and because we already have the idea of what it can be, you know. But so we have to prepare. Fiction is also preparing the field for other storytellings and for other, like, new destinations for all of us, you know. Unbelief, I think it's important.
For sure. And you've given us a positive experience tonight. Thank you for being here, and thank you for creating this beautiful film. I think we're all going to go away with positive feelings and hope for the future. Let's give a round of applause one more time.